G'day everyone. In this video I'm going to show you my very first baitcaster reel that I ever bought 25 years ago because I've still got it, and I'm going to show you most of the reels that I've owned over the years, and I'm going to tell you about all of the different baitcasters that I owned over the years, and I'm going to tell you which one I consider to be the very best. Rightio folks, this is where it all began. Round about the early to mid 1990s I bought this. This is my very first ever baitcaster reel. It is a Shimano Calcutta CT100. Absolutely beautiful reel. At the time it was a state of the art. I think it cost me about $300 or $350 brand new, which in the early 1990s was about 1 week's wage back then. So that was my very first ever reel for lure casting for Murray cod, and it worked a treat and it served me very, very well for a number of years. Calcutta CT100. Now, like a lot of Murray cod fishermen, one reel wasn't enough. I love the Calcutta, so I had to go out and buy my second baitcaster reel, which is this one just here. Once again, it's another Shimano Calcutta. Look at that. This is the Calcutta 50, the small brother of the Calcutta 100 that I just showed you. You can see there that it's very worn out. Now if you see me looking to the side here and reaching out, it's because I'm just trying to keep the camera focused on this reel. So that's the Calcutta 50. This Calcutta 50 was, actually it still is, I still use this reel quite a bit, but at the time I bought this, the main purpose that I had for it was redfin fishing in places like Lake William Hovell, Lake Buffalo, just trawling for trout and redfin. The Calcutta CT50 and the Calcutta CT100. The 100's a bigger reel, and it was my this was my cod casting reel. This is my trout and redfin reel. I still got them both, and guess what? They both still work. I don't use the CT100 anymore, but I've got no doubt that if I was to put that on a rod, it would still work. It's pretty rough because it's, let's face it, it's nearly 30 years old and it's done a lot of work. One of my reels 30 years old is equivalent to somebody else's reel that's probably 430 years old because it does a lot of work. Now, as I said earlier, like all fishermen, I like to upgrade and buy new products. So even though I love the Calcutta 100 and I love the little Calcutta 50, I wanted something new after a few years. And around about the early 2000s, I went out and I bought myself a Shimano Calais. It was a beautiful reel. It was a low profile baitcaster reel, and that is one of only 2 reels that I don't still have, and I'll tell you why. I didn't like it. It was a good reel, it was a good quality reel, it worked well, but I just couldn't get used to it. For some reason, I missed my Calcutta, my CT100. The Calais was the next class up. It was quite a bit more expensive, and it took me a long time to save for it back in the day. But I, for some reason, I just couldn't warm to it as well as I did the Calcutta, so I sold it to my friend Chook, who I think still got it to this day. And then, guess what? I put this one back on. I put the CT50, or sorry, the CT100 Calcutta back on my cod rod and used it for a few more years after that. After a while, I had it serviced a couple of times and it started to get a bit rickety and loose. It just started feeling really well worn, which is its current state now. It hadn't died, it hadn't broken, it was just very worn, and it was time for something new. So then, from there, I upgraded to my very first Shimano Corrado. And back then they were quite an expensive reel, the Corrado. It was green, and from memory I think it might have been called the E200 or the G200 or something. I think it was an E200. And it went on a beautiful rod, a G Loomis GL3, 5'6" baitcaster I think it was. And it was a beautiful rod and reel combo. And it was working well, and I just spooled it up with new line and put a new lure on it. And then when the river was really high, around about 2009, 2010, I hit a log sideways in my kayak. I flipped up, I got everything out, I killed a digital SLR, and I lost that rod and reel, so that was the end of that Corrado. Then I went out and bought this one. So the first Corrado I lost in an accident. I went out and bought my second Corrado, which is this one here. Nice reel, beautiful, it still works, but it's a little bit rough. I think it could still work if it had a service. It needs a bit of an oil of some kind. Now there's a young fella that follows me on here on YouTube and on Instagram, James Lennox. He wants to buy this off me. But you know what, James? I'm not going to sell it to you, mate. You can have it. You can have it if you want it. I'm happy to send it to you, James, but I've got to tell you, mate, It's been around quite a long time and it's done a lot of work, and it could probably do with a full service. But mate, if you want it, if you want to try and rebirth it and get it going again, it's all yours. Send me an Instagram message with your address and I'll mail it out to you. But anyway, folks, so that was Corrado number 2. Now, when that got to its current state, which is a little bit long in the tooth, I decided to try something different because, I don't know, I just like trying different things. So I went out and bought this reel. I've got to be careful I don't get hooked on anything. This is the longest rod that I own. This is a Revo SX. Not a bad reel. Look, it's not... It's considerably cheaper than the Corrados and a lot cheaper than the Calcutta, and it doesn't perform as well. But that's because you get what you pay for. Now, I can't remember the exact price that I paid for this reel, but I was happy with it for what I paid for it. I wasn't disappointed, but I just don't think it performed as well as the Corrado or the Calcutta. Some people might argue the point that the Abu's better, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our opinions and we're all entitled to have our favourites. So it was okay, but I wasn't 100% sold on it. I still use this reel. The main reason that I use this reel, what I use it for mostly, believe it or not, is my cast out my deeper fish finder. It's on a rod called a Black Hole NS1s. It's 7'6", and the 7'6" rod with this braided line and my deeper fish finder, it just casts an absolute mile. So I still use it, but it's usually my my deeper fish finder rod. Sometimes I put my deeper fish finder on my normal cod rod just while I'm out the river fishing. But when I specifically go to places to explore with the fish finder and just do a bit of underwater reconnaissance, this is the rod that I take. So I liked that reel. But I wasn't 100% sold on it, and I just missed the Corrado because I thought the Corrado performed a lot better. That was just my opinion. So I went out and bought this. We'll call this one C3. This is Corrado number 3. The first one drowned, the second one sitting on the table here, and this is the third one. This still works. It works quite well. It's starting to get a little bit old and a little bit worn out. I've had it for quite a few years now. But this is actually got a new lease on life. My wife uses it. This is Loretta's rod because I wanted to go left-hand wind. So I grabbed the Pisca Fun. I tried a Pisca Fun reel. I bought one and they sent me one. But they're a $75 to $100 reel, the Pisca Fun reels, and they're worth about $75 to $100. They're not a great reel. Not the Baitcasters anyway. The spinning reels are quite good. Now, you may remember I uploaded a video last week where I hit one with an axe. I've actually removed that video on the advice of a really good friend of mine that said it probably wasn't a real cool thing to do. So I removed it. But anyway, folks, so yeah, I went to this Corrado. But then after a while, when I decided I wanted to upgrade again, I put this Corrado in a box, and that's when I went and got my first Pisca Fun reel, or my first 2 Pisca Fun reels, and I went left-handed. And I got so used to using them left-handed that I had to stay left-handed. So this reel isn't real good to me now. I don't like to swap from left to right, but that's Loretta's reel now. She uses that all the time when we go fishing. So that the journey went from the third Corrado C3 to the Pisca Fun, which I used for a season, and they do the job. They do the job, and that's where I'm going to leave it. They do the job. And then now I've upgraded, as you might have saw recently, to this Daiwa to Trula 150 left-hand wind, and I'm yet to see how this performs. And as you may know, just recently I also bought a Daiwa Fugo, which is another smaller reel that I use for trout and redfin. This Daiwa Fugo just here, this is what I'm using now. This has pretty much replaced, or does the same job as what my little Calcutta CT50 used to do. This is my main redfin and trout rod, and also perhaps yellow belly. It's got light braid on it, and that's why I bought the Fugo. But my main weapon of choice when next season gets here, or when we're allowed to go cod fishing again because we're not in lockdown anymore, when that happens, my my number one weapon of choice is going to be this Daiwa to Trula, and who knows, I might not like it. It comes with a lot of really good reviews. A lot of people tell me how cool they are, but I'm yet to use one. So I'll try it and see how it goes. Who knows? I may go through a whole I may go through a time there where I go through a string of Daiwa to Trulas because I just love them, or I might use it for a couple of months or a couple of years and then go back to the Shimano Corrado just because I just keep going back to them reels. But anyway, folks, that's my life in baitcasters. That is the that is my progression through baitcasters. My favourite one over the years is probably going to be the Calcutta CT100. Now, I'm not sure whether you can get this model anymore, but you can still get Calcuttas. One of my best mates, Sandy Hector, the camo man, he uses a CT100, I think it is, but it's digitally controlled. It's the DC model. It's got the digital braking system inside it. So you can still get them, and that's probably my favourite out of all of them, followed by the Corrado. The Calais was a beautiful reel, but for some reason I just couldn't warm to it, and I don't know why. Alright folks, hope you've enjoyed this video. A bit of a story time. If you have, why not give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.